Welcome to Focused on Christ, where we are passionate about exalting Christ and equipping the church. I'm your host, Mike Crump, here with Pastor Nathan Smith, and today we're going to be talking about AI and how it relates to the Christian. Is it a good thing? Is it bad? Is it like an indifferent thing we don't really need to worry about? It really depends on how it's used. Nathan, I think we'll start off with this question. How do you currently use AI? Like, how do you use it the most, maybe?
First of all, can I just say that sometimes we start these podcasts, and I think that people watching it, it's almost like we start the podcast with a snicker or with a face. And off camera before we start, usually something happens, and we're laughing, and then we're like, no, we got to get into this podcast.
Yeah.
And so, if anybody sees a smile, they are genuine.
You're trying to pull back the curtain.
I'm trying to pull back. I know.
There's podcast magic that's happening right now. But we were laughing because we're like the reverse of one another with our vests and our shirts today.
We both have vests. Mine's black. His shirt's black. And we both have hats. But part of that's just the function of being bald guys, right?
Yeah, and it's cold outside.
And it's freezing outside.
So,
anyways, AI.
Yeah, AI. How do you use AI these days?
I rarely use it at all.
Okay.
And it's not because of like a conviction I think it's evil. It's just I'm a little bit of a watcher with technology. I look to see how it's going to be used first. I mean, the simplest way of using it is, of course, just Google. Really, Google is now just souped up. AI
they're embedding it in there a lot. Yeah.
So, I mean, I find that helpful to get a quick breakdown of things. But as far as using it more than that, not yet. I'm just kind of waiting to see how the technology will shape out a little bit. What about you?
I create videos and pictures, and I use it for answering questions, things of that nature.
Did AI help write the structure for this podcast?
No, not the structure, but I did have it ask some questions, which we'll get to later on.
Interesting.
So I figured that would be kind of a interesting way to bring that in. But yeah, the reality is AI is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we're even in kind of what they're calling the AI bubble right now, where everyone's trying to see how this is going to work out, what this is going to look like, even when it comes to our culture, when it comes to our commerce, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so it's going to be interesting to see over the next 3 to 5 years where a lot of this lands. But when it comes to the Christian, we have to ask these things and really consider it, because whenever a new technology comes, a lot of times it comes with questions.
Yep.
And it comes with concerns and even fears. And I think there are those in our world, and especially in the Christian world, who are kind of viewing AI in two different spectrums of either they're fearing it, and maybe this is the next move towards the overthrow with the Antichrist and all this kind of stuff, or conspiratorial things, or you have, like our brother Alan, who he uses AI for everything, and he just does these deep dives with it, and it's amazing how he creates.
It's a powerful tool for him.
It's a powerful tool for him because that's just how his mind works.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for us to first kind of define what we're talking about when we're talking about AI, because what comes to mind when you think of AI, like immediately? So
I do a lot of research. I'm a researcher.
Okay.
And I want to understand the world, not just in the world of theology, but I do read broadly. And when it comes to AI, I have done quite a bit of research on it, just trying to figure out and understand what this thing is. And as we understand AI, really what it is at its fundamental base level is a mathematical equation that basically culls vast amounts of data. When we think about AI, however, I do think that most of us think apocalyptically.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're thinking Terminator.
Yeah, you're thinking Terminator. You're thinking iRobot. You're thinking, you're thinking C-3PO, and I mean, you're thinking of life, artificial life that mimics life.
Yeah.
And people are afraid that this equation is going to jump that gap, and we're already asking those questions.
Yeah.
And even you can hear the pundits, the unbelieving pundits out there going, we have to be careful with AI because one day it's going to rise up and take over the world. And
that's where there is a difference between AGI, which is the artificial general intelligence. That's theoretical right now. As far as we know, there's not anyone out there who's captured that. What we're talking about is more the ANI, and this is just basically, as you were saying, a diverse collection of machine-based systems that can simulate human-like cognitive function. And so that's what we're talking about. It's algorithms, it is patterns of behavior that it's seeing and then mimicking.
And I would actually even argue and say very particular cognitive functions.
Yes.
Like to your previous point, it's not general in the sense that it's a holistic package.
Yeah.
I actually was listening to an engineer talk about the fact, and they said, "Are you afraid of AI and having this rising up and taking over the world?" And he said, "Let me use the human body. There's the brain that has the cognitive control, but the human body is more than the brain. It is a series of extremely sophisticated sensors. Your eyes, your nose, your skin, temperature, being able to make minuscule, very quick reactions based upon the quality of your sensors." And even though we have AI in the context of being able to draw out vast amounts of information, our sensor technology is ridiculously minuscule compared to even just the sensors that are built into our biological bodies.
Yeah.
So the ability to actually replace human beings in that capacity is just not even conceivable, because they don't even have technology that even can replicate the degree of sensors that the human body actually has.
Yeah.
And the ability to compute it in the moment, make minuscule adjustments, rational adjustments that then factor in other values that are actually meaningful.
Yeah.
So I think that it is helpful to kind of bring back a little bit of the terror equation of AI means tomorrow robots are taking over the world. It's just that technology doesn't exist yet.
No, not yet.
And it
but
may.
Maybe one day.
Maybe if the Lord tarries is coming, and that is devoid of a Christian worldview, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, you continue.
Yeah. So does the Bible give us any speak of anything like AI, or is there any scripture that helps us to kind of understand how we deal with things like this? Because it is mimicking human activity. And so I think that's what is kind of causing concern. And we've even seen stories where people are falling in love with their AI chatbots.
Yep.
People are killing themselves because they have been instructed by AI. And so how do we deal with this from a biblical standpoint, maybe a framework that helps us just look at AI?
Okay, anything that devalues fundamentally what God has placed as supreme value, himself, or values his creation, or reduces its special nature, I think that is principally something that we have to walk into technology always with. And the expression and the use of any of our actions that actually devalues or sidesteps certain capacities where we're actually supposed to express our God-given humanity also can be dangerous. So one of the principles of Scripture practically is that anything used within its correct context and not in excess can actually be used for holiness and goodness. So food's a wonderful gift.
Yeah,
it's not a moral thing of good or evil, but the way in which it's just used. Is it an excess, or even on the other side, an eating disorder that is under eating? You're not stewarding what God has given in a way that actually is meant for the building up of the body and the blessing of others. So is it a tool that can be utilized? Yes, but taken outside of its right capacity, can it be harmful? The answer is yes. Now, what is that right capacity? And that's kind of where the debate is going.
Yeah.
If I can give a quick illustration, Mike, that has been helpful, because my kids have asked me this question. How should we think about AI? Is it any different than the internet? An example would be the bicycle versus a Ferrari, right? Both are modes of transportation. I mean, both get you from point A to point B. When I give my kid a bicycle, the ability to injure themselves or others is actually relatively small, because the speed and the power generated by it is relatively not just small.
You're going to fall over. You're going to skin your knee. Maybe bump your head.
Now, if I give my same 7-year-old the keys to a 1,200 horsepower Ferrari or a Bugatti Chiron or some kind of hypercar, and I say, go get in there, what are they going to do? They're going to kill themselves and maybe kill someone else with it. The difference between those two modes of transportation is simply the amount of power at their disposal. So when we look at books, when we look at internet, then we look at the learning internet that eventually became AI, what we're looking at is just increasing horsepower, if you will. They're both tools, but one of my concerns with Christians is they're not thinking the fact that AI is kind of like a technological Ferrari. And if you just throw the keys to a child, then the scope of what they can get themselves into trouble with and others into trouble with is actually the potential of it is exponentially greater than 50 years ago when they had to go to a library. Or if you wanted to indulge in sinful, lustful passions, you had to cross town and go to an adult store.
Yeah.
The internet increased the availability. Now AI is looking on the threshold of being able to have self-generative porn.
Yeah.
You can generate whatever you want, whatever fantasy you desire.
Yeah.
So if you're throwing kids or untrained adults or undisciplined minds, doesn't matter of any age, the keys to a Ferrari, and they've never been taught how to drive and how to turn and how to brake and to appreciate the power of this tool, they very well potentially could destroy themselves and others. So very practically, Mike, that's just kind of an illustration that's like, we're not talking about this. This is an amoral reality, but we should not be ignorant to the horsepower, the potential for destruction that increases as technology increases.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good word. It's something that a little while ago I spoke on technology in the Christian to one of our groups here at the church. And a lot of as I'm looking at technology and just realizing so much of it is almost like us trying to achieve godness, right? We are limited in scope in our minds and power, and so we are finding things through technology to help extend that.
Yes.
The danger is, to your point, is that we were never meant to carry all of that.
Yeah.
And so I think with the increase of the internet use, social media, news sites and everything, so that we can hold all these things in our mind and feel like we have knowledge of expanding all the time, it brings with it anxiety and fear and all of these things as well, because we were never meant as people to hold all of that information. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And technology can be also conduits of blessing, but also conduits of the demonic. And we have to be careful and be cognizant of that reality.
So expand that a little bit, because
Yes.
I have heard people fearful that inside the machine is their demon. And so is that the reality, or is it something different than that? Or both, maybe?
I would say that the truth is somewhere in between. Here's what I mean by that. When we talk about, let's use something very simple. Watching a movie. A movie can be a great escape and actually inspirational and maybe even motivational. And if the content that is channeled through that medium is one that is consistent with biblical values.
Yeah.
Even a secular movie can channel biblical values of honor, truth, and self-sacrifice, and we find that inspirational.
Yeah.
Through the exact same medium can be channeled. Of course, we can talk about the sexual component, but let's just talk about just darkness, evil, the occult, things like that, through which the demonic can like freely breed images and ways of thinking into our mind through media that are horrifically evil. And you cannot deny, we cannot deny as Christians that there are spiritual forces, the demonic, that work behind the scenes, and they use earthly means at their disposal to accomplish their ends. So is AI demonic? No. It's actually built upon fundamental mathematical laws that God wrote into the fabric of his creation. Can the demonic utilize AI for demonic purposes? The answer is undoubtedly yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I think we've seen that. If Satan is here to kill, steal, and destroy, I think we have seen that even in AI and some of its working. And we have to understand as well, it's neutral in one sense, but it's also created by a sinful man. And so embedded in the system is, if it's learning from humanity, it's learning from a broken and sinful humanity.
That's right.
And so there is a reality to where it is going to pick up those sinful patterns of behavior and things and thought.
Yes,
as well.
Absolutely. And one of the challenges with AI is you actually don't really always know what its source information is. In the world of academia, because I do teaching for for different universities, two of them specifically, and one of the challenges that they're both facing is the reality of source validity. Basically whether a source can be trusted.
Yeah.
Like if the AI draws and says, this is what the general opinion out there is on this topic. And you're like, oh, that's really great to know what the general opinion is.
Yeah.
What sources did it cull to actually come up with that?
Yeah.
And if you don't actually follow the breadcrumb back and look at the source, you might actually be finding that it's actually looking at a series of blogs or a series of articles that actually have been refuted by,
Yeah.
You just have to be really careful on source credibility.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, so I've had this discussion with a few people, even here at the office, about where I think the church has an opportunity with AI. So in our world, AI becoming what it is, the creation of content, of videos, of pictures, of stories, of all these things, there is coming a time, and we're already seeing it, where I'm not going to know if anything at all, even if it's reported on the news, is true.
Right.
The church stands as a beacon of truth in that confusion where people will, I would say, even want to desire to be around physical people who are proclaiming a historic faith that is grounded on an eternal truth.
Yes.
And so I think we have an opportunity in this time to declare, okay, yes, be mindful of these things, but if you want to know what truth is fully, here's where you can find it.
That's right.
And so I'm hopeful in that piece that if the church is proactive and thoughtful in this, that we can actually be that beacon.
I think that's a great word, Mike. I mean, I think that as well, whenever technology happens and the culture shifts around us, if the church maintains what it always does, and that is the truth that we have proclaimed, the way we go about doing the truth and fellowshipping, if that remains core, then the world can shift around us. And the church can be one of the few, maybe I would argue the only existential grounding anchor in the entire world that doesn't change. Like, this is what the church is. When churches make the mistake and try to shift the core of who we are based upon the shifting sands of culture, society, or technology, that's when we look like nothing different.
Exactly.
So I think that we might we might develop our spreadsheets a little different, do our planning a little bit different because of AI, but we're still going to get up Sunday morning, we're going to sing together, we're going to pray together, we're going to worship together, we're going to...
All right. So with that said, all right, for the next part, these are some questions that AI created for us. Okay. So I basically asked AI, what are some tensions or what are some questions for the Christian about AI?
Sure.
All right. So we'll just go through these. No, we won't hit all of them.
But
maybe some rapid fire. Oh, yes. I figured it would be fun.
It'd be fun.
Can AI-generated sermons, music, or prayer content be considered genuine spiritual ministry?
Oh, man. I think that there's a question in there. Can AI-generated sermons, music, or prayer be considered? So ministry in its base form is service, and service requires people to interact with one another. Like, when we talk about ministry, we're not just about doing the tasks of Christianity. Ministry inherently is people on people. And if you take technology completely out of the equation, if a pastor, all he does is sit in a corner and read books and actually never interacts with people, he's not doing ministry. So you cannot replace the impact of the one-on-one, one with another, that is a part of Christian ministry. Now, can the content help?
So here's the live example.
Okay.
I love creating AI music.
Okay.
All right. Some of it is Christian, gets based off of the scriptures.
Sure.
And a lot of it's just for personal edification. I've shared some with friends and online a little bit. Is that considered, or could it be considered genuine spiritual ministry or of spiritual value, because it is speaking of the truth of Christ, but the means by which it was created was not me playing an instrument or singing a song. It was me typing on a computer the right thing in order for it to be created. And it's mimicking a voice and it's mimicking music, but it's proclaiming a truth that is true.
So
is the removal of the human element from the creative process, is it neutering the full impact of that?
I think this is one of those things that Christians are going to have to be okay with agreeing to disagree on certain levels. This is not a dogma issue. This is a working out of...
I mean, we're not going to fight right now?
How we view these. I will say this. I do think that Christian musicians who spend their life practicing, writing, pouring in hours of prayer and time in order to develop a product, and then someone's able to do it in 5 minutes. It feels to them like a devaluing of their entire profession.
There is something, and I'll compare this to preaching.
Yes.
So Nathan Smith could go right now to ChatGPT and ask it to write him a sermon based off of the book of John.
Right.
Right. And it could do that. And it can do it actually pretty well. It's pretty amazing.
Yes.
But then Nathan could get up and teach that.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the same as Nathan poring over the scriptures all week long to be able to bring a word to the people that Sunday?
No, it definitely is not the same, because I haven't learned it for myself, and I didn't actually go through the process myself. I didn't anguish in the Lord to actually, with these truths, figure out how to minister to where the congregation needs it. AI can't perceive where our congregation is at this moment in place and time, and the truth they need to be shepherded through. And so, yes, there's an aspect in which it can help, and I've never used AI in that capacity, but it's coming. It's coming. I would say that to the music question, because I think that is definitely an increasing trend. I think also Christian musicians have to be honest with themselves that they've been able to enjoy this space of generating content for the meta church. That can be enjoyed digitally or via distance. Yeah. So can a Christian write their own music and for their personal edification be okay, and that'd be great? But can that music be brought into the worship, the worship with the gathered people? Yeah. And can AI music replace congregational singing? The answer is no. And I think that now could the song written be brought into congregational singing? I mean, maybe. Yeah. But the main point is that Christian music is a public forum is frankly a modern aberration that the church has never had to actually wrestle with before. Yeah. So writing music doesn't replace congregational singing. It's this periphery blessing that God has given in technology that how it's stewarded, as long as it doesn't replace the core, which is the people of God coming weekly again to sing together.
So are we talking about like, the core of the Christian experience is abiding one another in the local gathering, worshiping Christ in that space, serving one another, caring for one another. And then outside of that, you've got these kind of peripheral, and this is a modern thing in many ways, is that you have resources that help maybe equip and encourage you and things that you can go about. Maybe there's more freedom in that space than within the local gathering itself, simply because you don't want to remove that human element. That's the fearful piece for me.
I agree. I think as long as you don't change the core, there is some freedom, careful freedom in that periphery. YouTube changed preaching. Here's what I mean by that. 40 years ago, of course, there were preachers on TV. Most of the preachers who could afford TV spots were massive, charismatic, Pentecostal, health, wealth, and prosperity. So you didn't watch sermons on TV because they were rarely any good. Yeah. Now with the advent of YouTube, not only can you watch good sermons, you can watch some of the best of some of the greatest theological minds of our age. And you can listen to sermons all day long and never go to church and get actually, with respect to my own preaching and others, better content than what I can deliver. I'm just not as gifted as some of my brothers. But does it replace that preaching via distance, the information that you get versus the ability to gather and be a part of the core and what we're commanded to do, where that preacher's life can be inspected and be proven out as true, and where the preacher himself knows his congregation and is able to shepherd them in the truth where they need it. That interchange is a gift that can never be replaced. Yeah.
All right, this is fantastic. We probably go for longer. One more question for you: should Christians use AI tools to study the Bible or write theological content? Is there a place for that?
With great care, because can it give you some ideas? Sure. Just like getting sermon outlines from another preacher can be helpful to spur up ideas. My concern is that people will shortcut the research process and take what AI says because it sounds right, and actually develop positions that were never pushed through the grid of the text. And they weren't wrestled, and they didn't actually read the actual author who's saying these things. They're writing a compilation. And theology is a discipline of grammatical precision. In other words, good theology often hangs on one or two words in a sentence. Yeah. Consider this. Jesus Christ is a way to heaven. Jesus Christ is the way to heaven. The definitive article there presents an exclusivity that the does not. Yeah. It actually presents a pluralistic position. And when we actually look at Jesus Christ's righteousness, made accessible righteousness, which would be a Roman Catholic position, and you access that by doing good works, or he has actually made you positionally righteous. Depending on where AI drew those 2 points can actually make the difference between damnable heresy or biblical fidelity.
Yeah.
And it hangs on a few words.
Yeah.
And so my concern is that people do not actually wrestle with the content clearly, and they end up adopting actually false or even heretical positions because, that sounds right, because God gives us his righteousness. He made us available to us. Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And we start talking in those terms and actually lose what Scripture actually says about those things.
Is some of what we're talking about the desire for an end result when the process itself is just as important?
Yes. Yes.
And I think just in studying the Scriptures, wrestling with the truth, all of that, rather than just a Google an answer, that's what I believe now, and kind of move on.
Yeah. I mean, now, even as a preacher, I've never used it to generate sermon content, but I'm like, I know there's a verse out there.
Yeah.
And I type in a couple of words that I get close to what the verse says. AI spits out, you're talking about this verse. And I'm like, I think that's right. Now let me open my Bible and say, yeah, that is the verse.
Yeah.
Different version. I don't know where I got that version, but it is the right verse I was thinking of.
Yeah.
It was a tool that was immensely helpful to me and actually shortcutted probably 30 or 40 minutes of pouring through the concordance.
Yeah.
Now some of our old school guys would be like, but you just shortcut. It is a shortcut. But it is a shortcut that has to be validated. You have to go, is that actually what the verse I'm thinking of? Is that what the verse says? Or is AI paraphrasing a terrible English translation?
Yeah. All right. We've gone a bit long on this one, but I think this is an important
It's an important topic.
Just one final admonition for the believer who's wrestling with AI.
Remember that Jesus said his word will stand, that his purposes will stand, his church will be built. He wins the day at the end. There are no apocalyptic Terminator machines who take over the world. The only one who wins the world is Jesus. And so just keeping those main things helps us to relegate the fact that this is another moment in society that we'll see where it takes us. And we have to be cautious, be very cautious, be very circumspect, but also trust the Lord day by day.
Amen. Thank you so much, Nathan, and thank you all for listening to Focused on Christ, which is a ministry of Heritage Baptist Church. Next week, we'll discuss the crucifixion of Jesus and its implications for us today, which will be a wonderful conversation to be had. Until then, connect with us on social media, browse our library of resources, all at focusedonchrist.com.